us right now is Deputy Opinion Editor for the Washington Times, Kelly Riddell. Kelly, good to see you. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
This was the first major test for Paul Ryan as Speaker under President Trump. Where do you think things stand?
Well, you know, repeal and replacing Obamacare was never President Trump's first agenda item. He ran on jobs and improving the economy, and he didn't have a replacement plan intact when he entered the office. So he gave it over to House Speaker Paul Ryan and let him take the reins. And I think that there was disappointment in the fact that the Speaker couldn't deliver the votes in passing this through. And so I think with tax reform, you're going to see this driven by the White House. You're going to see Mnuchin, and you're going to see Gary Cohn, and you're going to see the president himself put their stamp on tax reform. And I don't think you're going to see Speaker Ryan have as big a role in moving the policy forward.
Do you think this was a failure
in the policy? Sorry.
Do you think that this was a failure in the health care policy, the messaging of it, or the politics of it?
I think both. I think the bill was very messy, and then I don't think that it was rolled out correctly. I think it was a really messy rollout from the very beginning. But Republicans, no matter what they do, if they're going to replace Obamacare, people will fall off the insurance rolls. But most of those people, a lot of them, a lot of the 24 million, will elect not to have insurance. And so that's a choice they're having. Right now, they don't have a choice, and that was just never really messaged well, either by the White House or by the Congress.
Yeah, why not? I mean, how do you go into a vote and not know where the votes are? I mean, shouldn't he have known that there was a broad amount of pushback and he wasn't going to get this over the finish line?
Yeah, I mean, but he should have also, before he rolled out the bill, got the Heritage Foundation on board, the Freedom Caucus on board. He should have spoke to some of these conservative groups in town, the Koch brothers. It's not like these interests weren't here in town. It's not like Speaker Ryan couldn't have gone to them before he rolled out this plan, and he didn't. And I think that was a critical misstep. I mean, the fact that when the plan was released, nobody liked it. There was virtually zero support.
And even after it was released, no one had seen it prior. How do you work on something for 7 years and no one knows what's in it, Robert Wolf?
Well, a couple things. One, you should have known what the CBO scoring would have done. Whether you like it or not, that is what people look at. And you knew right away that was going to cause incredible agita with all the number of Medicaid.
Well, just to push back, Steve Forbes said, why are we so concerned about the CBO?
I'm saying whether you like it or not. I'm not saying you are.
You just have to plan for it.
But for all the Republican governors, it gave them a bully pulpit to stand on.
And there was a data point that they had to address.
Kelly, what I'd like to ask you is, President Trump loves to win, and he wins very often. You know, this is a big loss for him. One of his other big wins was the Trump rally, which, you know, is going through a bit of a volatile couple weeks. If you see the market, I think for him, watching the market is a big thing he does daily. He likes that the market's going up. If you see a continual fade, you think he'll make changes and I hate to say, but take a head?
Yeah, I do. And I think it's critical that the president gets 3% GDP growth this year in order for him to be a successful president. And in order to do that, you need corporate tax reform. You need infrastructure investment. And so if he can't get anywhere with Republicans, I think you'll see him go to some of the moderate Democrats, both in the Senate and in the House, and try to push through an infrastructure bill. This is not going to be with Republicans as much as the Freedom Caucus. He's going to lose them. But if he can push an infrastructure bill through, perhaps if he ties that with a corporate tax reduction and a repatriation tax, we could really see the economy start humming, and he could achieve the goals that he wants to.
That would be a home run in 17 if you could get business tax reform in infrastructure. But I will just tell you, the president's infrastructure plan, where it's mainly based on tax credits, is not the one that the Democrats will align with. There's going to have to be a lot of negotiation there. But absolutely, it's the most bipartisan issue.
Kelly, this is Mitch Rochelle. One of the things you said before was messy. How do they do what you just accomplished without making it messy, keeping it simple, and keeping it actionable?
Cut taxes already.
Yeah, cut taxes, corporate taxes. You have to go. Don't go after the individual tax rate. There's too many loopholes to close. Too many business interests and corporate interests in this town. Do the corporate tax rate and make sure that those taxes go into effect at the beginning of this year.
Yeah, but see, that's the thing. You can't just cut taxes and not do away with some of the deductions. Then it's all. Then you really have to say, how the heck are you paying for that?
We also have to remember that we're talking about President Donald Trump, who was supposed to be the president of the American people, not big business. So if he just goes after corporate taxes,
that's true,
without going after personal taxes, I understand.
But, rising GDP. You know, a rising boat lifts all tides, and I think that a rising tide lifts all boats. I got that backwards, but you know, you basically see once the corporate business rates tax. You see businesses, small businesses, you know, hiring more, investing in their people more, salaries rising, and I think that you can't reduce the benefits of that.
But a little secret, the White House in Washington won't call it corporate tax reform. They'll call it business tax reform.
Right.
Why?
Because they want to make sure that they include small businesses.
Exactly right.
And that will be
that
something,
makes sense.
and that will be something that they'll say, okay, we care about those that have a half a dozen employees. I mean, it may not get the LLC, but it'll include small businesses. And I would agree with Kelly. You get business tax reform going, you get the repatriation, people will feel like something got done big.
Here's what House Ways and Means Committee Chairman Kevin Brady told me yesterday about moving this tax bill forward.
Last week didn't end the way we had hoped. We're not going to dwell on it. We're getting ready for the next big game, and that is tax reform. The good news is Ways and Means Republicans have spent 5 years getting ready for this moment. House Republicans have spent the last year getting ready for this moment, and we continue to make our tax reform plan even better.
The only issue here, Kelly, is the fact that we know that they are starting on the wrong foot with tax reform because it's all connected. They wanted to get health care done because they were repealing $1 trillion in Obamacare taxes. So they were beginning the tax reform conversation down $1 trillion. Now they begin with that $1 trillion. So in 39 states, there's going to be all of these health care taxes while they're trying to cut taxes.
No, there's definitely starting in the hole, and this goes to whether they need this to be deficit neutral or not. And if they push it through the reconciliation process, then they're going to need it to be deficit neutral within the 10 years. If they actually pass a bill with 60 votes, this is why I'd like to see an infrastructure tax cut bill all kind of tied into one, then they don't have to worry about having it be deficit neutral.
Wow. All right, we'll be watching this. It is more complicated than people let on. Kelly Riddell, good to see you. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
We appreciate it.